And that was successful. A little reverb. Give us a moment. Wow. Yikes, I don't think my mic has ever been that effective. There we go. Dawn, how are you today?
Doesn't get any better.
No, it's not going to get any better. This is what happens when you read the news. All right, very good. 3 o'clock, I'm going to call this meeting of the Administration Executive Committee to order at 3. All right, committee and or public comments. Do any committee members have comments they would like to make at this time?
I do not.
Okay, I will say that people should know that I'm an employee of the federal government, but anything I say today and my opinions are mine and mine alone and not necessarily reflect those of my employer. Are there any public comments? I see none. Then let's go to item number 3, Junior Associate Board, Mr. Zadiba.
Okay, well, the program, as you know, was approved by the board, but there was some conversation about what training should be required by
And
those.
what remuneration?
Right. Well, the enumeration, I think we settled on that, the $50. But the training and research that Lauren has done, I think we've decided it's probably the best to do for sure the sexual harassment, but I believe ethics training probably would be appropriate as well. So I think those two would be something we'd require.
All right.
Any further comment from, would you agree, Lauren? Okay. Okay.
Okay.
If there's no further comment on that part, I just wanted to relay some information. I was in a meeting that Dave Ostash attended, Dr. Ostash.
Yes.
He is going to organize a Zoom meeting next week. He's already talked to the principal at Mesquite and the principal at Burroughs and shared both the application packet and the program description, pilot program description with them. And he was saying that he could send out through the whatever app they have, just pick 16-year-olds out of all their students and send a blast out to all the parents and students that are 16 and above in Sierra Sands district.
Okay.
So that would be really good. And he's really willing to work with us to make sure that we get some good candidates through. So I've talked to Dr. Hancock, Sean Hancock, yeah, but Saracoso, and he's going to work with us as well. So I
Very
think
good.
hopefully we get a fair number of applicants, and there should be some good quality applicants. I know Renee had mentioned other schools, and yeah.
I was just going to say, Emmanuel Christian School. Are there other private schools in town that we should reach out to? Yeah, it only goes through junior high, yeah.
Yeah, but
Renee, if you have a list of contacts for that, I can.
I know who the principal is at Emmanuel. I have her
But
email.
do you have other contacts? 'Cause I know we had to do water sampling or something. Any contacts you have for alternative schools?
Yeah,
I'll,
I'm trying to think of what else besides Emmanuel.
If you could give me those, I can just send the information out to them as well.
Yeah, as they've come to mind.
Yeah, I have Principal Yerkes.
Good
Info.
catch. All right, anything else, sir?
No, sir.
All right, very good. Any comment from the committee members? Questions? Are there any?
I'm sorry. The training issue, so since we're going to be paying these folks, though, will they be effectively employees or?
No. No, Jim's made it very clear they're not going to be employees.
Okay.
No.
So if there is some, while they're acting on behalf of the water district, there wouldn't be any liabilities if they were to step out of line?
In terms of harassing somebody?
Yeah, well, sexual harassment training is principally put in place to help employers make sure that their employees are behaving properly so that the lawsuits and stuff are contained or at least minimized. So I'm just curious if that liability would apply to the
Probably something we should talk with Jim about to make sure.
Please do, thank you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Were there any comments or questions from the public? Okay, seeing none. Item 4, discussion on Senate Bill 606 and Assembly Bill 1668, establishing guidelines for efficient water use. Tom,
As I've mentioned the last couple of months, there's really nothing to report. SB 1157, the legislation that proposes to modify the targets, that is coming up for another hearing, and I have to look. I don't recall the date offhand, but I did get an alert from Aqua that, in fact, I can probably find it.
anyone who is listening or listens to the record of this meeting, that's setting the standard at increasingly smaller amounts of water for indoor usage, and eventually when they set the standards for outdoor usage as well. So the anticipated indoor usage would start at something like 50 or 52 gallons per person per day. And the attempted modifications would take that down to 47 or 42 gallons per day per person, which is not very many toilet flushes.
It goes down to 42.
42, yeah, very good. So if you think 42 gallons a day per person won't quite do it for you, please politely and succinctly let your representatives know in Sacramento that that is a terrible idea.
Oh, here it is. Okay. Looks like it's going to be taken up by committee August 11th. And the Aqua Coalition is looking at sending a floor alert tentatively prior to that.
Okay,
So, yeah, August 11th, it looks like.
coming up.
Yep.
And is there any comments from the committee? Questions?
No, no, no.
Public? Well, I was trying not to say that. All right. Then we'll go on to item 5, draft agenda for the regular board meeting. Okay. Are there any committee comments? Mr. Vice President, anything?
The only thing I'd like to clarify is on 3, second item on item 3 regarding potential strategic planning effort. Since I mentioned that during the workshop, I'm assuming I'd be the one talking to that.
E3, right?
E3.
All right.
Yeah. What is the expectation of the boards for my presentation that night? Or from the president? Or if you have an expectation?
So I believe that Jim Worth is going to inform us what the procedure is for making swaps on normal committee assignments during midstream. And if not, then we're going to have a discussion about forming a subcommittee and assigning people to the subcommittee who were not necessarily assigned to the finance committee.
Right.
And that's, I suspect, the first check mark. And the second check mark would, I guess, be just general discussion about a potential strategic planning effort. Since you brought the subject up, if you have an overall idea, that would be the time for you to explain your vision.
Okay. So I won't take any steps towards.
I wouldn't start planning.
Right.
But I would say
This is more.
what you were going to look at, who was going to be involved,
Okay.
a general schedule. Don?
I was going to say, my comment is related to the first item because I had a conversation with Jim and he may be more inclined to making a separate agenda item rather than putting this under a board workshop
Okay,
for discussion.
all right.
And that's why
I see why he would do that, but it does, all right. I won't argue.
Okay, I'll make sure I come prepared to at least educate the board on the potential and what might be a way forward that we would take and a rough idea for schedule and outcomes.
I think I would be prepared to discuss how the strategic planning effort differs from the rate study effort.
Okay.
Obviously, those are going to be intertwined. So you, I presume, would want to do the strategic planning first and then have the rate study follow that. Because that is the normal horse before the cart.
Yeah, that's a good perspective, accurate perspective. The problem we face right now is with our timeline, as I'm learning about the rate study is going to take quite a bit of time. A strategic planning effort also is timely.
And you don't have that much, you have time, but you don't have that much time.
We don't have that much time, especially if we're trying to get something, you suggested during the board meeting that we have a tentative rate product for the November board meeting, which that's going to be tough as is without the strategic planning effort. So,
No?
so this might be a longer term, hence strategic, than it is,
Okay.
a near term.
So a consideration might be, when you discuss this, that what is done for a rate study in November might be revisited for the following year if the strategic planning isn't done. But you need to have something ready for the board to vote on in November. This can't be allowed to drag on to next year. We're facing economic pressure from all corners.
Right.
And not to mention the 10%, so-called 10% inflation, which is not going to end this year. It's going to keep going. And if we aren't able to raise rates sufficiently, then the water district will be put in a position where they're eating their reserves in order to do regular maintenance. And the next time there's an earthquake, we will not have water going to people's taps. And that is not acceptable.
Yep, I understand.
All right.
So we'll,
Clearly, I have no passion about this, Mel, sorry.
no, we'll work it. It's like I say, not having been through one of these before, I wasn't fully prepared for the amount of time that it would be required.
Yeah, we don't have to go hog wild with the rates, but if they're going to if you're going to try to reduce rates, you have to figure out a way that doesn't involve borrowing massive amounts of money,
Right.
which doubles the cost of the projects, or dropping things that are crucial. If there's some nice to haves, okay, push those out. But that's what you need to talk about in the strategic planning session, not listen to me prattle on during the meeting, sorry.
No, that's right. No,
Right.
good inputs. So I'll come prepared to overview the potential effort.
Right. No, yeah, notional timeline if you've got one. And you think about how often you'd like to meet, because I think at this point, it's getting to be weekly.
Yeah.
August, September, October, yeah, it's going to be weekly. As a man of leisure, perhaps you could find that time. You will be a man of leisure yourself, Don, soon, so. All right,
That's all I had.
anybody else? Any comments from the public? Okay, then, is this an acceptable with the change that Don is recommending, that Mr. Worth would like to see making the,
Well, these closed session items still need to be reviewed as well, so there may be a change or two. But
okay?
Jim hasn't responded yet, so he'll respond in the morning.
Okay, so I don't have any objection to this agenda, and you say they'll make some changes and you'll send us out
Possibly.
whatever update might come
Possibly.
out of it.
I'll let you know, I mentioned yesterday, and I think I brought to my attention, I may have mentioned the wrong day, but next week, Tuesday, staff is going to have a meeting with Krieger and Stewart at the last workshop. We were directed to prioritize 3 projects, refine the costs and schedule
Okay,
for the purpose of the strategic planning and also for the cost of service analysis. So we're going to do that. And in addition to that, we are going to put together for all the projects a description of any possible consequences. So if the board decides to defer something or to cancel it entirely, they are aware of the consequences of that action. I think
risk
is-
analysis, the likelihood and the impact.
Yes.
Yep, good, thank you,
So we'll be doing that on Tuesday.
perfect. Absolutely necessary to have a proper
Yes.
plan. All right, thank you, sir. All right, so we're looking forward to seeing some updates, maybe, to the agenda, but otherwise, is there anything missing? Okay, all right, then I say we're good to go on that one. Item 6, future agenda items. Is there anything anyone would like to see on this agenda?
I don't have anything.
Okay, Dawn?
No.
Staff? No? All right. Then we'll move to Item 7, adjournment, and we will call the meeting closed at 3:14 PM. Thank you for coming and thank you for your time.
Very efficient.